Yo ninjas, I'm Kaio. In this video I'm gonna teach you what to do if you get stuck with only a couple rounds of air flare. So how to learn continuous air flares. If you need more help to learn air flares, I just made a detailed PDF guide where I explain everything you need to learn this move. There are many different tutorials and techniques about the air flare, but it's very hard to decide which one to use. So in this guide I really help you deciding which technique fits you best, which is the right approach to learn air flares, which steps are needed and which steps are not needed in every specific case. Check it out, link in the description. So the main problem about the air flare is learning how to do multiple rounds. Many people learn the first round, but they are not able to do 2 or they are not able to do 3 or more. The key points to learn multiple rounds are 2. First, very important key point is focusing on combos. So it's not optimal if you try to learn multiple air flares just by practicing multiple air flares, but it's way better if you practice air flares into combos. For example, let's say that you can do only 1 round of air flare. Don't try to do 2 rounds, but try to do air flare to windmill, air flare to flare, air flare to swipes, which moves you want actually. Also to freezes and also to footworks. The more you try to connect your air flare with the moves you can do, the more you will improve your control and your flow. Once you master the combos and the transitions, the second step is trying to do air flares multiple times in just one combo. So for example, air flare to windmill to air flare again, air flare to air flare again, and so on. Only when you master this, you should practice multiple air flares, so 2 rounds in this case. The same concept can be applied also if you are stuck, for example, with 4 or 5 rounds of air flare. Let's say that you can always do 4 rounds or 5 rounds of air flare, or you have kind of like a limit. To break this limit, you should practice air flares more times in a combo. Let's say, for example, that your roof is 5 rounds, so you cannot do more than 5 rounds. You should try to do 4 or 5 rounds and then try to continue with another move. So try to push yourself almost until the maximum. So 5 rounds is your maximum. Try to push yourself almost until here. So do 4 rounds, then go to windmill, or try to do 5 rounds to windmill, and then don't just stop in the windmill, but try to connect the air flare again. A very good concept to keep in mind: if you want to unlock, for example, 2 rounds of air flare, try to do air flare at least 2 times in a combo. If you want to unlock, for example, 6 rounds of air flare, try to do air flare 6 times in the same combo. So the more rounds you want to achieve, the more rounds you should be able to connect in combos. If you can connect air flares in combos, it means you have enough stamina, enough strength, and also enough body control also to learn multiple rounds. So for example, if you can do 4 air flares rounds, then you do windmill, flare, and then air flare again, and then flare again, and then air flare again, it's very likely that you can easily do 5 or 6 rounds, because you're pushing yourself in connecting air flares many times in the same combo. So again, you will have enough stamina, enough body control to do it. If you want to have more details about this approach, check out the guide that I made, because in this guide I really explain step by step how to practice air flares in order to achieve more rounds. The second key point is not about the method of practicing air flare, but it's about the technique. Most people that can do like limited rounds of air flares, like 5 rounds, sometimes it's because of stamina, but it's very unlikely. Most likely it's because they don't have a good rhythm in the air flare. What do I mean by that? When you do the second round of air flare, for example, the rhythm of your hands and of your legs, the movement that you're doing should be the same as the previous round. B-Boy Marcio once told me, don't think about doing like 10 rounds of air flare. Think about doing 1 round of air flare, then again 1 round of air flare, then again 1 round of air flare for 10 times. I don't remember if he told me exactly with these words, but the concept was like that you should not think about doing 1, 2, 3 like this, but doing 1, 1, 1, because every round of air flare should look like the previous one that you just did. Thinking about this concept very often while practicing air flares really helped me mastering multiple rounds, because I was actively trying to make each round as similar as possible to the previous one. To learn this move as efficiently as possible, you have to follow a specific plan or method, and not just practice the move randomly or following too many different tutorials. Because they all give you different information, and the training process could be a little confusing. The courses that I have created collect all the information that is very useful and structure it very clearly to make power moves easy for everyone. They also provide a training plan and some extra tips and concepts. One extra tip for you, the hips are very important as well. Many people focus too much on the legs and on the arms. They focus too much on kicking the legs strong, for example, but they don't focus on the hips. The hips are also moving in the air flare, especially if you're using the bouncing form, or if you're also using the standard form, like kicking with one leg like this and swinging with the other one. The hips are moving with the legs. You're not only moving the legs, but you're also moving the hips. How to move the hips? Think about the jump. When you start, if you spin clockwise like me, you jump from the right hand to the left. So when you are on the right hand and when you are swinging the arm and pushing your legs up, at the same time you should actively think about pushing your hips up like this. So it's not just doing this, but it's most likely doing this. Really pushing your hips. So if you spin clockwise like me, you should turn your hips a little bit in this direction towards the left side, and at the same time push them towards the right, because you jump from the right, you land on the left hand. While you're landing on the left hand, you're pushing the hips in this direction. So not close to the hand, because if you push your hips down, you're falling. So you're doing this, you're dropping down, but really try to push up your hips. If you're not used to do it, this movement could be very tricky. I recommend to practice it very slowly. The slower you practice the movement, the more you will understand what is going on. So don't rush and practice slowly. I know practicing slowly may be more challenging and hard, because if you have more speed and momentum, it looks like you can easily achieve one round. But then you will not figure out the right technique. So practice like the slow motion air flare, but really focus on what's going on in your body, on your legs, on your hips, on your arms. Don't just rely on the momentum. You can rely on the momentum once you get the technique down. But if you don't have the technique, don't rely too much on the momentum. You will not have a good control on your air flares. So again, first very important thing, combos. Second, very important thing, rhythm of your air flares, and each round should look the same as the previous one. And third, but extra tip, focus on the technique, on the hips movement, that is very important, not just swinging the legs, and practice slowly. If you cannot control a part of your body, for example, if you cannot control your left leg during the air flare, or if you cannot control your hips or your right leg, it's very likely that you're practicing it too fast. When you practice too fast, you don't have time to figure out in your mind what is going on, but you have to practice in a speed where you can control everything, each part of your body. Same thing also applies for the arms. So for example, if you're always falling on the elbow because you're bending the arm, it means that you are doing the movement too fast and you don't have enough time to think about the arm and keep it straight. If you want to learn how to keep it straight and don't fall on the elbow anymore, you should really do it very slowly. Slow control, look at the arm, have the control of the full movement, and then jump. The slower you practice, the more control you will get. If you need more help to learn air flares, check out the guide that I made. It's very detailed and it contains all the information you need to learn air flares. I see you next time with a new tutorial. Yo ninjas!